Hi, welcome to Crime Clueless. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
I'm Lara.
And I'm Krista.
We're missing Kayla.
Yes.
Not
Sick
feeling good
today.
Yep, but we're going to make sure she listens to this story.
Send it to her after. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
I hope she feels better.
Me
Yes.
too. Being sick is the worst. I hate summer colds.
Yes. It doesn't seem fair.
I know, right?
Yes.
Count on it in the winter, but
Yes.
not when it's 100 and whatever outside.
I saw the funniest thing on the way on the road today. It said, it was like on the ADOT signs or whatever.
Mhm.
It said, that's the temperature, not the speed limit.
Yes.
That made me laugh.
I saw that yesterday and I was like, telling my husband, I was like, this is the funniest one I've seen in a while. It's so
Mhm.
true for here.
They're pretty good.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
have some good ones. I'm always laughing.
I know. Whoever runs that does a
They do a
very
good
nice
job.
Yeah. Should we jump into our case?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to talk about Deanna Cook. Have either of you heard this?
No.
It's heartbreaking. It's infuriating. It happened in Dallas, Texas. And this case really showed off some serious flaws in the system that, this never should have happened. There's so many steps along the way that if the system wasn't broken, it wouldn't have happened.
Oh, that's awful.
So what you're telling me is we're going to be frustrated. A lot during the case.
Outraged. You're going to
Okay,
be
yes.
outraged. Yeah. It's a difficult story, and it does involve domestic violence. If that's not something you can listen to, you can catch us on the next one. But I do feel like it's an important story to tell. Let's start off by talking about who Deanna Cook was. She was vibrant. She was a loving person. She had 2 young daughters. She was 32 years old. Family was, I know, so
That's
young.
So young.
Mhm.
Yeah. Super young.
And family was everything to her.
Krista's
Sorry.
32.
Well, I just turned 33. But yes, I am young.
That didn't even register to me because I'm not 32.
Oh, sorry.
No, I like that you explained it to me because I missed it. But I saw Lara's face.
I just got excited when both of you said it was so young.
Yeah.
She's like, yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is very young.
I am. Yes.
Also 33, very young.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Even 36, very young.
And after that, it's old. Okay.
It's not old yet.
No.
No.
We're all young and vibrant.
That's right. Deanna would call her mom every single day. Her mom's name is Vicky. Often when she was driving home from work, if a day went by without Deanna checking in, her family would feel like something was off because it just was her routine. It was habit. They were all used to chatting every day. Friends and family described Deanna as kind-hearted and loving. She had a warm smile that could light up her room. Her sister, Carlitha, recalled how she often envisions Deanna in happy times. It's a beautiful picture, Carlitha said. Deanna loved to laugh and spend time with her loved ones. She had a small dog that she loved and cared for, and she had recently moved to a nicer neighborhood in South Dallas, hoping to raise her daughters in a better environment. Her mom said that she moved there because it was a nice area, emphasizing how Deanna really put her kids first. As bright and caring as Deanna was, she had this shadow that hung over her, and it didn't matter what she did. It was impossible to escape. The shadow was her ex-husband, Delvecchio Patrick, and their relationship was really awful and tragic. You know, the warning signs that we mentioned at the beginning of the episode is the first place that some intervention should have happened.
Mm-hmm.
The two had been married, like I said, ex-husband, and we don't know every detail of their early years, but we do know that the marriage became toxic and violent. Delvecchio, who was 35 at the time of the events that we're going to talk about, had a history of domestic violence. He was possessive. He was abusive. and so much so that she lived in constant fear of him. Over the years, Deanna had tried to break free from the abuse. She had filed for divorce and she had gotten a restraining order against him. I mean, she did all the right things that victims of domestic violence are told to do. She left the abusive relationship. She reported the abuse. She sought legal protections. And she even moved to a new house to get away from the memories and everything and him having keys or things like that.
Yeah.
She had also at one point sought refuge in domestic violence shelters just to get away from him. And despite all of her efforts, Del Vecchio would not leave her alone. He stalked her relentlessly. According to Deanna's own social media posts, she felt that she was dealing with an obsessive stalker who just wouldn't go away.
That's awful.
It is so scary.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Deanna had called 911 for help on many occasions in the weeks and months before her death. She had warned authorities about what was happening. She told police and 911 operators that her ex-husband was stalking her and threatening her. In one call, you can hear her telling the operator, "I have a stalker." And on another occasion, when she was frustrated that she wasn't getting any help or support by authorities, Deanna reportedly said, "You can look up my name. You can see 100,000 complaints probably, but ain't nobody doing nothing."
Which is so sad because a lot of times victims don't even report it because they're scared. And she was doing that and still wasn't enough.
Yep. And nobody was taking it seriously.
It's awful.
Yeah. And
that, I was going to say that doesn't help either.
Mm-mm.
If other people are in the same situation and they're seeing things like that happening, that is not going to encourage them to reach out for help, because if they don't have the faith that it's going to change anything, why risk that?
Yeah.
It's a horrible pattern, horrible cycle. And that's a really good point. They're just showing that you can call or not call. We're not going to do anything.
Yeah. Well, and get the restraining order and all the things. And it still didn't save her.
Right.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Definitely the outrage, you know, that comes from hearing that she reached out and nothing.
Yeah.
In that quote that I read, you know, look up my name. You can see I've called 100,000 times. It shows how desperately she was trying to get help.
And how brave she was.
Yeah.
And predicting essentially that something terrible would happen if they didn't help her. Each time that she called, though, her pleas did not bring the protection she needed. Police would come, they would take a report, but not always. And they definitely didn't treat the calls as urgent. According to her family, none of Deanna's prior calls for help were ever handled as a high priority. It was like the system didn't take her seriously. She was a Black woman in South Dallas, fearful for her life, and in every way she felt ignored by the systems in place. One of her family's attorneys later said, Miss Cook was a victim of her race, the nature of her call, and the demographics of her South Dallas neighborhood, implying that there was bias and indifference in how her calls were handled. So on top of them not taking it seriously, we've got the bias coming into play. Despite all this, Deanna kept trying to live her life. She had a job. She had her daughters. They were in their teens at this point. They often stayed with their grandmother. She had a support system of loving relatives. As the summer of 2012 went on, though, the threats from Del Vecchio escalated. He would park outside her house. He would watch her, and he would tell her that he was going to kill her.
Ah.
Wow.
And she's reporting this every time. Deanna told her family and the police about the threats. And can you imagine living with that kind of fear?
No.
By August of 2012, Deanna knew that she was in real danger. On Friday, August 17th, 2012, it started out like any other day. That morning, Deanna was at home in her house in Southeast Dallas. At 10:54 a.m., she dialed 911 from her cell phone. This would be Deanna's final frantic call for help. On the other end of the line, a Dallas 911 call taker named Tanya answered. Immediately, she could hear chaos and terror in the background. Deanna was not calmly speaking on this call. She was screaming at the top of her lungs in fear. Through her screams, she managed to cry out words that sent a clear message. Help, please, stop it. She was begging her attacker to stop. The attacker was Delvecchio Patrick, her ex-husband, who had somehow, even though it is a new home, gotten inside her house. In the 911 recording, which is heartbreaking, Deanna can be heard pleading and even addressing her assailant by his nickname, Red. She cries, help, please, stop it, Red, as the assault unfolds. In the background, there's another voice, a man's voice, yelling threats. According to investigators, at one point, Delvecchio's voice is heard saying he's going to kill her. So on this call, the dispatcher could hear both Deanna's desperate pleas and the attacker explicitly saying what he is going to do, threatening to kill her. The struggle that ensued was captured live on the 911 call. And like I said, it's horrifying. It's chilling.
Wow.
It's awful. The call is between 9 to 11 minutes. The line remained open as Deanna is fighting for her life. 9 to 11 minutes. We have talked about calls where they get there in 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
During those minutes, you can hear sounds of a violent fight, thrashing, screaming, and then gurgling noises.
Ugh.
Deanna's screams turn into gasps. At one point, Delvecchio is mocking Deanna. He sneers that the police aren't coming in time. He is essentially taunting her hope that help might arrive and save her. Then there are horrifying sounds consistent with strangulation and possibly it sounds like drowning. Investigators later noted that you can hear Deanna being choked and struggling to breathe, and you can hear the sound of water as if she's being pushed into it. I mean, imagine being that 911 operator on the other end of the line. I feel like that would be, we need someone there right away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you hear someone in the background and her yelling that she needs help, someone should have immediately been sent out to her house.
Yep. Yeah. Like sirens and everything.
Yeah. Multiple people sent to her immediately.
So Tanya, who answered the call, is trying to get a response. She's doing the standard questions, which this isn't a standard
Not a standard call. Yeah.
She says, you can hear her saying, hello, do you need police, fire, or medical?
Police.
Everybody. Send anybody, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Deanna is unable to answer. Her cries should have been the answer. She needs the police immediately. At some point, the phone line goes silent. Deanna can no longer respond. The call started, like I said, at 10:54 a.m. and it fades out because Deanna has been overwhelmed by her attacker. The line stayed connected even as she fell silent. According to later investigations, the call taker and the supervising operator kept the line open for a full 15 minutes after Deanna stopped responding, periodically asking if she needed help.
What?
And there's no answer, just silence.
Wow.
They decided they would classify the call with urgency, although...
After how long?
Yeah.
Exactly. The operator labeled it as a major disturbance urgent when she alerted the police dispatch 10 minutes into the call.
What?
Mm-hmm. However, here's where we'll get more outraged. Deanna was calling from a cell phone and obviously fighting for her life, and she wasn't able to state her address. The call center staff was trying to figure out where she was calling from. So they triangulated her location using latitude and longitude coordinates, which took a few minutes, precious minutes. And I do feel like if she had given her name and she had called that many times,
they should have had it somewhere.
There should have been an easier way to get that.
Yeah.
By the time they got the address and sent that urgent major disturbance to officers, a lot of time had already passed.
This really freaks me out because I feel like I always grew up believing that if I accidentally called 911 and hung up, that they would send someone to me because they would think that I was in trouble. And now that's not true, obviously. What we're reading. It's not.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. Yeah.
Well, and it's awful. Like, I wonder what kind of system they have, because my job, if someone calls in and they've called in before and we've put in their information comes up on our screen.
Yeah.
Because our phone system is connected to that system. When they call, I can see their name. I can see their phone number. If they've given me an address before, I have their address. All of that information is there. So I feel like if she had called in and given all that information and there's a restraining order on him, there's all these things. She's called in before and asked for help. All of that, like her name and her phone number should have already been on there.
I agree.
And even if they're just labeling it as a disturbance, it's obvious that person that she has the restraining order against is breaking that, is breaking the law. So at least we could get someone out there for that if they're not taking the rest of it seriously.
And there's just no way when you hear this call to understand how it wasn't
immediate.
I mean, start triangulating her address from the second she says she's being attacked.
Yes.
Why does that take after 10 minutes? I mean,
silence. Yeah.
Well, 10 minutes into the call.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then they stayed on the line for an additional 15.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
I feel like, too, I mean, this wasn't 2012. So that was newer cell phone, but not new.
But caller ID wasn't new.
Right.
They should have had her phone number. They could have put it into their system.
I would think. Yeah. So the call was not given the highest priority that it deserved. The way that they labeled it wasn't. And the dispatcher who radioed out the call allowed officers in the field to volunteer to take it instead of immediately sending the closest ones, which is unbelievable. Despite an urgent tag, the call wasn't treated like a life or death emergency. 2 Dallas police officers, Crystal Wilborn and Milton Menchaca, volunteered to respond. But instead of racing to the scene, the officers stopped at 7-Eleven for bottled water on their way. Yep.
Every new piece of information we get on this just makes my heart drop more and more.
It just
They just failed
stomach.
her.
They did. Yeah. They absolutely failed her.
Even when she did everything right.
So she hasn't been responding for 15 minutes after you can hear that struggle taking place. The officers take a detour.
And they're not even the closest ones to her.
They're just the ones that volunteered to go to that next. The delay will become a focal point of outrage later on. But you're going to hate this. It ultimately took 50 minutes from the time of Deanna's 911 call for the police to arrive at her house.
That's horrible.
Nearly an hour. For a woman calling, screaming, "He's going to kill me." And you can literally hear him saying, "I'm going to kill you." She's being attacked in real time. And by the time the officers got there, the house was quiet. Outside, Deanna's 2 small chihuahuas were barking incessantly, and water was running out beneath her garage door, forming a puddle that anybody could see. The officers walked up to the house. They knocked on the front door. There was no answer. Now, common sense might say if you know a woman called screaming for her life and you arrive to find a quiet house with water leaking out and distressed dogs, you don't just shrug and leave.
What?
Did they leave?
They left. You would think they might try to break down the door, see if someone needed help or rescue from inside. And I don't know, I mean, to give them the tiniest bit of devil's advocate, whatever you want to call it.
Benefit of the doubt.
They didn't hear the call. They're hearing, does someone want to volunteer to take this?
It's a disturbance.
They're saying it's a disturbance. Yes, it's marked urgent, but I don't know what. It's almost like playing telephone. From the person hearing it to the person that radioed it out to the officers. But
I wish they would have radioed in and asked, hey, what's the, like, what was happening with this disturbance? We don't hear anything now. Do we need to go in and check? Or I don't know, something.
They did not enter the home. They peeked in a window. They listened just to see if they could hear anybody inside. They later noted that they heard the dogs barking and thought that if they entered the backyard, the dogs, tiny chihuahuas, might attack. And I had a chihuahua. They are loud.
Mm-hmm.
They are protective, but they are also
Small.
Yeah.
Kick it away.
Yep.
That's terrible.
Who needs you.
That's terrible. But don't let a chihuahua prevent you from helping somebody.
Exactly.
Don't kick dogs, but
right. No, but if you're trying to save a woman's life,
save someone's life.
Mm-hmm. It's like you might have been able to move
them out of the way.
Literally pick them up and put them down.
Yes, because they still have like that high pitched bark. It doesn't sound like a Doberman. It doesn't sound
like a Rottweiler.
Yeah, not a big dog that.
They don't sound like your 40-pound dog you have now.
Exactly.
They sound very different.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you can tell the difference between your 8-pound dog and your 40-pound dog.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Absolutely.
And they bark at the same time. We can tell who.
We can tell who is the one that started it, Chloe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they didn't go around the back. They had the dispatcher try calling Deanna's cell phone. Went straight to voicemail with no one answering the doors. And they, from their vantage point, said they couldn't see any obvious signs of a current disturbance. The officers assumed that whatever had happened was over and that no one was home or in danger anymore.
Did they note the water coming out of the garage?
And they saw it. They noted it later on. But yeah, after spending mere minutes at the scene, they left. In the report, they marked the call as resolved or cleared, effectively concluding that nothing was wrong.
Which again, as we talked about, if they do think it was just a disturbance, that makes sense. But we wish that follow-up or some more clarification would have been given, especially when they called, even to ask them to call her cell phone.
And straight to voicemail. That's, you would think if it was better, she would answer and say, oh, no, I'm okay. I don't need help.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for sending officers.
1,000%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Inside the house, though, Deanna Cook lay dead or dying. She had been brutally attacked. We later learned that Delvecchio Patrick choked Deanna to death and drowned her in the bathtub of her own home. Mm. The water running that the officers saw flooding out of the garage was that from the bathtub. He just left it running. I don't know if he was trying to wash away evidence or just callous disregard, doesn't care.
Probably that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. By the time police drove away, Deanna's life had already been taken in the most horrific way, even as her 911 call captured the sounds of those final moments.
Horrible. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine listening to that
and not
like freaking out and making sure that someone was getting in there to try and help her.
Yep.
I'm sure you get kind of
desensitized
to some of it, but I would be sending people out left and right every time I heard anybody screaming on a call.
I just feel like it's better to over-respond
yes.
than under-respond.
Yes.
And I hope that this isn't the case that she had called a lot of times and it hadn't been something. So maybe they did see that it was her and they're like, oh, she calls all the time. But
that's also possible. But also it is something every time.
It is. And this
breaking that restraining order.
Worse.
And it takes something to get a restraining order in the first place.
Yes.
Well, they also could hear him in the background.
Yeah. They knew he was in there.
Someone was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which you're not allowed to do with a restraining order.
Yes.
And maybe they didn't know that it was him, but they could have said that. Well, we didn't know it was him. She didn't say his name. If she said his nickname.
Called him Red.
So,
but
you don't want it. But this sounds like it was very different. Obviously, it was.
Mm-hmm. And hearing him in the background, knowing that he's wherever she is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're hearing things crash and break.
Yeah.
And her screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Him screaming.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Mm-hmm. As even if she had called a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
This is different.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, as desensitized as they might get, this still feels more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously they heard him killing her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's recorded forever.
Yeah. So that was Friday the 17th. That passed with no word from Deanna because remember, she liked to call her mom on her way home from work. So later in the day, they didn't hear from her on Saturday the 18th. By Sunday, Deanna's mom, Vicky, knew something was very wrong.
Did she have her kids?
Mm-hmm. Deanna hadn't returned calls or messages for 2 full days. She hadn't updated Facebook. And also, she always went to church with them on Sunday, and she hadn't shown up for that either. For Deanna to miss church and not communicate for now 3 days, it was completely out of character. Vicky decided to go over to Deanna's house because she wasn't getting responses to check on her, hoping that maybe she was sick with the flu, sleeping in bed. Maybe she had gone somewhere. Maybe her phone broke. You're trying to come up with
something.
Yeah.
Something. Vicky brought along Deanna's sister, Carlita, and Deanna's 2 teenage daughters. They all got in the car and headed to Deanna's house, hoping that whatever panic and fear they were feeling was unjustified,
Yeah.
As soon as they pulled up to the house, their hearts dropped. They saw the unsettling sight, water flowing from underneath the garage door, just a stream coming from the house and down the driveway. Obviously, that's not normal.
She would have had neighbors, right?
Yeah. And maybe they thought a leak or...
I would still be days. Even if my neighbor has water in front of their thing, I keep an eye on it. When I come back, I see if it's still there.
Well, and what about her dogs?
Yeah, the dogs barking nonstop.
Yep. They noticed the dogs roaming outside, barking, agitated.
We're
talking Dallas in the middle of the summer.
Yeah. Well,
it's hot.
Yeah.
My neighborhood, all the time I'm seeing posts, stop your dogs barking, or so-and-so left their dog outside. We better call animal control or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know why they didn't call about the dogs barking for 2 full days either.
Yeah.
Vicky's mom instinct was screaming that something was wrong.
Yes.
They tried to get inside. They pulled, trying to open the front door, which was locked. They were checking windows. They peered inside. They couldn't see much except water on the floor. So panicking, they decided to call 911 for help. They thought the police would come immediately and help them get in to do a welfare check on Deanna. Not the case. When Vicky called 911 to report that she feared her daughter was hurt or in danger, the 911 operator, and this was a different operator, not the one who took Deanna's call, told Vicky that police could not be dispatched for a welfare check yet. The operator, later identified as Kala, instructed Vicky that before an officer could be sent, the family should call around to local hospitals or jails or something to see if Deanna was there. You try to find her first. The ultimate brush off.
Mm-hmm.
And since Deanna was an adult, sometimes police, I guess, require more evidence of immediate danger before treating someone as missing. But considering the circumstances, the water flooding out of the home, and a woman who 2 days earlier called 911 about an attack, this advice was shockingly inappropriate.
Well, I can't believe that. So one time I called the police because I thought I heard something outside, and they came and checked.
I think
I didn't have to try and prove that they should come. They didn't say, "Can you go check it out first?"
Right.
Because it sounded like a kid was crying. So I asked them to come and check. And they did. And they were there pretty quick.
Yeah.
When I was living in some apartments here in Arizona, I could hear a woman screaming from the apartment complex just next to mine. And I couldn't tell what was happening, but I could hear someone screaming. And I called and asked someone to come and check because I was worried it was some kind of situation. And it stopped. But I did see a police car driving around and looking. You can at least send someone over.
What does that hurt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially you say we can see water flooding in the house.
Yeah.
Can you come make sure? We can't get in.
Mm-hmm.
Can you send someone to come check it out?
Yeah.
I'm baffled.
I have to believe that this is a bias on the police's part. It has to be.
Yeah. It might be spot on.
Especially with the hospital and jail comment. I feel like that's so inappropriate to tell someone on the line. That's so rude.
Well, and I feel like calling to say we haven't heard from her from 2 days is very different than saying we know her ex-husband is abusive and obsessively stalking her. She has a restraining order on him. We can't get in touch with her. And
her house is flooding.
Her house is flooding. Her dogs are outside. I mean, more than just she's didn't come home tonight, you know?
Yeah. It's not like it's...
Or she won't answer the door.
Yeah. It's not like it's been 12 hours.
Right.
Like it's been 3 days.
But even then, it still felt like over-response.
Yes. I'm sure there's people driving around that could just do a drive-by and help you look. It's not that hard.
Yeah. Vicky, Deanna's mom, pleaded with the operator, begging for help. She knew in her gut that her daughter was in that house and needed help.
Breaking down the windows.
Yeah.
The operator insisted on, you guys need to check other places before we'll send someone out.
That's horrible.
So after a few minutes of getting nowhere, Carlitha, Deanna's sister, had enough. She told her mom to hang up the phone, saying, we're going in ourselves. The family, taking matters into their own hands. We're not just walking away to call hospitals and jails.
No. Busting down that door.
So the two went around the back of the house. They kicked in the back door, like a patio door. The door gave way, and the family stepped inside to a nightmare. The first thing that hit them was the smell, the dreadful odor from the humidity and having running hot water. I mean, I assume if it's anything like here in the summer, our cold is hot. The water that had been leaking outside was everywhere in the house. It covered their ankles as they moved through.
Oh, wow.
They shouted Deanna's name and got no response. They could tell that there had been a struggle. They were seeing furniture overturned. Her bedroom door had been kicked in. And notably, the family didn't do that. When they walked in, they saw that it had been kicked in. The bedroom itself was trashed. Even the toilet seat in the bathroom was ripped off.
Oh, wow.
There were obvious signs of violence everywhere. Vicky led the way. Deanna's daughters were unfortunately close behind. And then Carlitha was following them. They were terrified of what they might find, but they had to know. They made their way towards the master bathroom. As she pushed open the door, she saw the bathtub overflowing. The shower curtain was drawn closed around the tub. So gathering everything she had, Vicky pulled the curtain back. And what she saw was something no mother should ever have to see. Deanna was there, lying face down in the tub, submerged in water. She was only wearing underwear, and she could tell right away that Deanna was lifeless. She could also tell that she'd been there for a while. The water was still running, pouring over her, spilling onto the floor, and it was tinted with blood. Deanna's face was badly disfigured from being beaten, and the effects of being in water for 2 days was horrific. Vicky screamed. Carlitha behind her saw the awful sight as well, and all at once the family began wailing in grief and shock. They started shouting exactly what they knew had happened. He killed her. He killed her, Vicky cried out. He said he was going to do it, and he did it. In that moment, the heartbreak was immeasurable. Carlitha later recalled how that image of her beautiful smiling sister was forever replaced by the image of how they found her.
Horrible. Just horrible.
She said, I have to shake my head and close my eyes to push it away. It's not something I will ever get over. The family's screams on the 911 call, which they still had open on the cell phone during the search, finally convinced the operator that this was an emergency.
So they just stayed on the line?
Police and paramedics were dispatched to the house. When first responders arrived, there's nothing they could do. A paramedic later testified that they found Deanna floating face down in the bathtub. It was obvious that she had been deceased for some time. They carefully pulled her out and began the investigation. Delvecchio Patrick, of course, was nowhere to be found. He had fled right after murdering Deanna on Friday. The obvious suspect was him, and Deanna's family made sure that police knew that. Even as they were reeling from the shock, they told officers on the scene that Delvecchio did this.
Yeah.
Police quickly put out an alert for him and located him soon after. He was arrested and charged with Deanna's murder.
Good.
Yes.
I'm glad that he was able to be found and not like in Canada or something, or Mexico.
With a 2-day head start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to overstate the family's devastation and anger in this moment. They had tried so hard to protect Deanna. Deanna had tried so hard to protect herself. And yet, in the end, they were completely let down. In fact, Deanna's mom, Vicky, later lamented, "I shouldn't have had to find my daughter like that."
No, absolutely not.
She believed, as many did, that if the police had responded quickly and urgently to the 911 call on Friday,
emergently,
yes, her daughter might still be alive.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, they would have spared the family the trauma of finding her like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was not just a murder, it was a systematic failure at multiple points. News of Deanna's horrific death and the circumstances around it spread quickly. First in Dallas and then nationally, there was public outrage when it came out that Deanna had literally died on the phone with 911 listening.
And they didn't show up for an hour almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we feel that outrage too.
Yes.
Yep. The Dallas Police Department faced intense scrutiny. How could a 911 call with someone screaming and being attacked not be handled as a top priority, life-threatening emergency? Why did it take 50 minutes for police to get there?
Yeah.
Why didn't they go in?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dallas authorities moved to address the failures. The police chief at the time, David Brown, admitted that mistakes were made. He took disciplinary action. The call taker who handled Deanna's 911 call, Tanya, was suspended. The supervisor, who was away from her post, was given a written reprimand. And the 911 operator who told Deanna's mom to call hospitals was fired. That feels backwards to me.
Yeah.
Chief Brown himself publicly acknowledged that the system had failed Deanna. He was quoted as saying, "The 911 operator obviously failed, and it cost the life of Miss Cook." I mean, admitting to a failure is something police departments don't do very often. So, okay, it doesn't bring her back, though.
No.
The mayor of Dallas at the time, Mike Rawlings, said he was also deeply affected by the case. He had recently launched an initiative against domestic violence, and Deanna's story underscored just how urgent the issue was. The mayor said, "We all failed her. The system failed her. The neighbors next door failed her. The media failed her. The mayor failed her himself." He also specifically lamented that our safety net wasn't there for her. Those words, "we all failed her," really struck a chord. It was an admission that this wasn't just a one-off fluke, but a collective failing of society to protect a woman in danger.
Yes.
Under pressure from the public and city leaders, the Dallas Police Department conducted a top-to-bottom review of its 911 call center. They found it was, quote, "desperately troubled." It was understaffed, overburdened, and not equipped to handle certain types of calls appropriately. In the months after Deanna's death, Chief Brown oversaw major changes. One important change was the creation of a new priority classification for 911 calls.
That's good. At least they made changes from their failures and admitted to the failures.
Yeah.
If anything, at least maybe someone else might be saved, which doesn't help Deanna's case, but maybe it'll save another woman who is in the same situation.
Yeah, I think that having the priority classification is important. Any calls where a violent crime is in progress or a person's life appeared to be in immediate danger, like someone being attacked on the phone, would be classified at the highest priority level. This seems obvious.
I was going to say, why wasn't that already something?
But prior to this change, Deanna's call had just been categorized as a major disturbance, urgent, but not as urgent as, say, a reported shooting. Now, calls like Deanna's would be recognized as potential homicides in progress and treated accordingly.
Which it was.
Yes.
They also upped the staffing at the call center, made improvements to training, and made sure supervisors were available at all times to assist operators.
Yeah.
So essentially, at least, Dallas tried to learn from this tragedy so that no other 911 call would slip through the cracks, so to say, in the same way. It's awful, though, that it took a death for these changes to happen.
Yeah.
I
wish it could have been, I wish it could have been, oh, this wasn't handled appropriately, but we got there in time and we saved her. But now we'll make changes because it was a close call.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awful that it
took this to make the reform.
Yeah.
And Deanna's family agreed. They were not content to just accept policy changes as the only justice.
They sued the department.
They did. Yep. In September 2012, so only a few weeks after her funeral, her family filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Dallas and the various officials that had failed her in her time of crisis. They argued that Deanna's civil rights had been violated by this grossly inadequate response, and they sought accountability for the negligence that led to her death. The lawsuit unfortunately dragged on for years, going through the legal system. The city fought it hard. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees to contest the suit. Ultimately, though, in 2019, a judge dismissed the lawsuit on grounds of sovereign immunity, meaning the government and its employees are largely protected from being sued for failing to protect someone. 7 years.
And they still.
Mm-hmm. It was a really painful blow to the family.
Yeah.
Carletha called the dismissal and the city's refusal to settle the case a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Which I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was all like, oh, good. I'm glad they did something. And then disappointed.
And they had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Give that to Deanna's daughters instead.
Yeah.
Especially since you've already said you failed her.
You already admitted to it.
Mm-hmm. Del Vecchio was charged with first-degree murder for killing Deanna. And like we said, justice moved slowly. His trial did not begin until May of 2015.
Was he in jail the whole time, at least?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. During that time, he sat in jail awaiting trial, and the Cook family waited for their day in court. When the murder trial finally commenced, it was emotional, is an understatement. They had to sit in a courtroom just a few feet away from the man who had terrorized and killed Deanna.
Was he her girl's father?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to sit while the prosecution laid out all of the horrific details of the case. The key evidence included the 911 recording, which captured the murder on audio, and the physical evidence from the crime scene. The prosecution's narrative was straightforward. Del Vecchio brutally attacked his ex-wife and killed her. The jury was played the entire 9 to 11 minute 911 recording as evidence. It would be awful to be that juror.
Or to be her girls.
Yeah, her family
were in there.
Mm-hmm. Her mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the day the tape was played, several of Deanna's relatives had to leave the courtroom in tears because listening to it was so devastating.
I'm sure.
Reporters described family members sobbing as they heard Deanna's voice on the recording, to the point that the judge had to have them escorted out of the trial so that it could proceed without disruption, which feels cruel, but
yeah.
Deanna's mother was actually on the stand when the tape was played, so she had to publicly endure hearing her daughter's final moments. She had a furious glare fixed on Del Vecchio when his voice came on the recording as he taunted and attacked Deanna. The prosecution also called first responders who described the condition of Deanna when they arrived, and the medical examiner who explained that Deanna died from homicidal violence, essentially strangulation and drowning. One paramedic testified that when they found Deanna, there was no chance of reviving her. The defense, on the other hand, didn't have much to work with. His attorneys reportedly tried to suggest that there were gaps or that maybe he didn't mean to kill her.
Besides when he said it on the phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
And threatened it multiple times, which she filed reports about.
But, and had a restraining order. It was an accident.
You literally just said what you were planning to do and then you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they tried to focus on side issues like his troubled past. At one point in the sentencing phase, the defense even argued about a bizarre tattoo that Delvecchio got while in jail, a tattoo that appeared to depict a woman crying in flames, allegedly Deanna, though they claimed it was actually an image of a female rapper. It was unconvincing. Delvecchio did not take the stand. He didn't testify. He showed no remorse throughout the trial. In fact, in a particularly shocking display during his daughter's testimony, yes, his and Deanna's teenage daughter testified about how her mother's death affected their family. Delvecchio actually gave his own daughter the middle finger in the courtroom.
Jeez.
Obscene, heartless, and spoke volumes about his character and lack of remorse.
It's like he doesn't even care to win over the jury or anything. Doesn't even care.
Yep.
There's a special place for people like
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It stunned everyone in the courtroom and solidified the image of Delvecchio as an unrepentant abuser. The jury found Delvecchio guilty of murder. They deliberated for only about 3 hours before returning the guilty verdict. The trial moved to sentencing. Prosecutors pushed for a severe sentence, highlighting his history of violence and the cruel way that he took Deanna's life. The defense put Delvecchio's mother on the stand to plead for leniency. I don't think if that was
no.
She asked the jury to have mercy, saying he has children who need him.
Who he just flipped off.
Yeah.
It's not even appear to like them.
It's like
mind-boggling. Even if he does have kids, they don't need someone like that in their life.
They don't want anything.
They don't want anything to do with him.
No.
And no kid should be placed in his care.
No.
After he just brutally murdered somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Their mom.
Right. Please don't.
Yeah.
The jury sentenced Delvecchio to 85 years in prison, along with a $10,000 fine, which 85 years was effectively a life sentence for him. Under Texas law, he wouldn't be eligible for parole until he served a, quote, significant portion of that time. According to prison records, he will remain behind bars until at least the year 2042 before there's any possibility of parole. For the Cook family, that finally felt like some type of justice.
Mm-hmm.
They knew he'd never be able to hurt anyone else again. Vicky, outside the courtroom after sentencing, said that they had justice for Deanna in the legal sense, but nothing can ever bring her back. She said, "It's tragic, and I don't think she deserved that. I don't think she deserved to die the way she died." And Deanna's sister said, "As a family, we just deserve more answers than we're getting."
Yeah.
They still had those questions. Why did the system fail her so badly? And who would be accountable? Now it's been years since Deanna's life was taken, but she's never forgotten. Her family's worked hard to keep her memory alive and help others in similar situations. They established a foundation in her honor called Deanna's Voice. This foundation's goal is to educate people and help eradicate domestic violence. They work through social media and community events to spread awareness about domestic abuse and the importance of responding to cries for help. The name Deanna's Voice is a tribute to the fact that Deanna used her voice to call for help. And even though that call did not save her, her voice can help save others. The city of Dallas, and especially the mayor, did take Deanna's story and use it as a rallying cry to combat domestic violence citywide. They hosted major events in 2013 where thousands of men gathered in Dallas to take a stand against domestic violence. He made domestic abuse awareness something of a mission for the city, and they often used her name and even her picture during their events, rallies, community events, things like that, to remind everyone of what was at stake if we ignore signs of domestic abuse. As we close this episode, I want to make sure that anyone listening who might be in a similar situation, or if you know someone who is, has information to get help. These are unfortunately not as rare as we'd hoped. Domestic violence affects millions, but there are resources and people out there who can help. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence or stalking and you're in the United States, you can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE, which is 7233. It's available 24/7, and people on the other end are trained to help, and they can connect you to local resources, provide advice on safety planning, just listen if that's what you might need at that point in time. You can also visit their website at thehotline.org for more information, and everything is confidential. And we'll link those in the show notes too. Deanna's life was full of love and promise, and though it was cut short, her story has sparked change. She's remembered by her strength and now by the voice she's given to others. So we can be inspired by her voice and look out for one another, hopefully help fix cracks in the system. So the next time someone calls for help, help arrives.
Yeah.
So that's Deanna Cook's story, which is heartbreaking and outrageous.
It really is.
Yeah.
Really sad that she was doing the things that everyone's told to do if you're in a situation like that, and it still failed her.
Yeah.
I'm glad that there was justice at the end and that change was made, but it shouldn't take a failure to put those systems in place.
Not that spectacular of a failure.
Yes.
Exactly.
And like I said before, even if it is a failure where they got there late, but they were able to save her, they didn't treat it as an emergency situation when they should have, but they still got there in time. Yeah. That could be their failure, not the loss of her life.
Exactly. Right.
Awful.
Thank you so much for listening. Do you guys have anything else? It's just sad.
No. It is sad.
I feel bad for her daughters.
It's an important story, though.
It is important. Yeah.
It's important. And I am glad that they made changes and have more training and more resources in those emergency departments where people are calling for help.
Classifying it differently now.
Yeah. And hopefully that type of failure won't happen again.
Yeah. Well, like we said, we'll put the resources in the show notes, and you can also find all of the resources that we used to create this episode on our blog, which is linked in the show notes, or crimeclueless.com under the contributors section. If you have any comments or anything about this case, we would love if you would connect with us. You can search for @crimeclueless on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or you can email us crimeclueless@gmail.com. Thank you so much. And as always, remember, refuse to be clueless, careless, or caught off guard.
Not today, murderers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.